Hey folks, this is Jason Lewis, the producer of the From the Shadows podcast. I just want to remind you about our website, fromtheshadowspodcast.com. We have a Facebook page. We would appreciate it if you like and follow. Also, join our discussion group on Facebook called After the Shadows. We have a Twitter feed. Please follow us on Twitter. It can be found with @podcast_from. Follow us on Instagram at From the Shadows Podcast. We have a YouTube channel. Go to the search bar at YouTube and put From the Shadows Podcast, and please subscribe to that channel. We are also on the Odyssey Radio Network, and we can be found there at odyssey1.com. We're still on the traditional podcatchers that everybody loves to listen to us on. We get a lot of feedback, so please rate the podcast and communicate with whether you're on Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or Google Podcasts. We're there, and we appreciate it when you leave comments for us. We also have a Patreon page. It can be found at www.patreon.com/From the Shadows. You can receive books, stickers, coffee mugs, and special content just for our Patreon subscribers. Check it out for yourself and see what packages that we have to offer. Well, that's all I have for you right now, folks, and thanks for being a part of the From the Shadows podcast family. So with that being said, let's get this episode started.
So did I ever tell you guys about getting stranded when the rail workers went on strike in Paris?
No, but I would love to hear this international tale of intrigue.
Oh, me too.
I told a friend of mine this story the other day, and they said, "Well, you should tell that on a podcast." And I didn't know, since we're getting an international audience, I thought, well, maybe I'll tell you. So I used to work abroad a lot, and I was over in Paris, and as I was trying to recollect, I think it was Bastille Day too, of all things. Maybe it was the day. Yeah, I was there. I was there for about, I don't know, 6-7 weekends in 2015 in a row. I was there every weekend in Paris from 8 out of 9 weekends from essentially the middle of June to the middle of August. So I get my meal day weekend in July. But anyway, okay, well, CDG, Charles de Gaulle, is out what you'd consider in the country. It's probably only 15, 18 miles from city center, but it's a rough 15 or 18 miles, If you ride in a car, it's 25 or 30 minutes to get downtown. I used to stay at a hotel called the Le Remedian, but this particular time I was staying out at the I think it was the Hilton at the airport or the Marriott at the airport, one of the two. So in order to if I wanted to go do anything, I had to ride a train or take a car. Normally you'd ride a train, and the train ride downtown is probably, you got to connect. Right. So as you're going in town, you go 6, 7, 8 stops from Charles de Gaulle to, I call it the split. I don't know what the real name is. Maybe some real Paris people can tell you. And then you get on a separate train that takes you, I used to get out right there at Notre Dame. It's the stop right there at Notre Dame. And I would, take some pictures or walk, and I would cross the river.
You'd go up and ring the bell.
I've been in there. I hate to say this, it broke my heart when it burnt, but I've been in there 50 times, at least. Yeah. So, anyhow, I used to cross the river right there, Notre Dame, walk down to the Eiffel Tower, and then cross back, and then walk back to Notre Dame. You know what I'm saying, on the other side of the Seine, and you can kind of you just kind of see what's going on. So anyhow, I was downtown, and the place was packed. That's why I'm pretty sure it was Bastille weekend, and it was just absolutely packed. And I got a little handy cam. I've got not hours, but dozens of minutes of I had a little handy cam when my oldest son was 2 or 3, or maybe it was my daughter was born. I bought this little handy cam, and I used to take it with me and just take video, right? So I'm down there videoing and having a good time, and finally it gets, I don't know what time, 9, 10 o'clock. It was getting dark, or it was dark already, and it was time. I'm going to go back to the hotel. So I get on the train. It gets to the split. The train stops. They say everybody's got to get off the train. Everybody got off the train. The train leaves. The next train, you guys have rode enough trains. You're standing there reading the train schedule. Okay, the next train's going to be here in 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Okay, now it's 1 minute late, 2 minutes late, 3 minutes late, 4 minutes late. Next thing you know, it's an hour and the next train hadn't been there. No trains have came. And there's probably, this train platform out the split's probably 100 yards long. Well, maybe not, 75 yards, 50, just a giant inner city platform, which you guys have been on the big platforms, and there's probably 100 people, 150 people out there. Suitcases, because it's going on the way to the airport, so people got suitcases and bags and whatnot. And finally, I'm starting to get a little worried. And there's places, have you ever seen a Travolta movie, From Paris with Love or something like that? What's it called? You know what I'm talking about?
I stopped watching Travolta movies after Saturday Night Fever.
Okay. Well, anyway, there is some rough spots, like any inner city, right? Major city. There's some rough spots, and out at the split, it's kind of a mix between a rundown medieval town and a bunch of high rises, inner city high rises, graffiti everywhere, right? And because I'm getting on my phone thinking, maybe I gotta get a taxi, maybe I gotta get something, I'm not gonna sit here forever, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm a doer.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a doer. Yeah, I'm a doer. So, I'm a doer. Because
taking charge
from the platform. I can look across. It's got walls and fences to keep people from crossing the tracks. Mm-hmm. But I can look over and see there's a decent little town down there. Maybe I can walk in there. So then I get my phone up. I'm looking at my app, trying to figure out, okay, train stations, bus stations, taxis, what have you. So finally, I start walking that away. And it's a little rough. And I was going to say, the only place that I've been in where I thought I was in inner city in New Jersey one day walking, and then maybe it was the train station that reminded me of something, but there was an inner city time, and I was in New Jersey walking around, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Big old white dude walking around some of these neighborhoods kind of sticks out, I'll be honest with you. And I'm walking through this graffiti-filled Parisian neighborhood. I can't speak the language, obviously, right? Trying to get into the town where I can see. The problem is the train station walkway dumped you out on the wrong side of the tracks. And because of the wall and the fence, there's no way for me to get out of the ghetto into the inner city. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I got to walk about 6 blocks and go underneath like a tunnel that goes underneath the train tracks to get to the other side. And I'm just filling y'all in, so you're kind of getting what's going on.
Yeah.
So as I'm walking, there's a few people interspersed that have dragged their bags or their luggage or whatever, and then I find out that the train workers just went on strike. They had decided, like whatever. I guess
they picked a great day, right?
If you could read the news or read at 10 o'clock or whatever time it was, they were going to go on strike. So I got underneath the train tracks in this town, and it's got a little, I don't know how to describe it, but I'm walking down the street, and it's got a little, how you get in a small town America that they have, sometimes they still have a little gazebo there with the street goes around it. It's similar to that, but there's no gazebo. And finally, here comes, as I'm walking, because my phone app has taken me there for a taxi. place, because I'm looking for up transport on the Google machine. And there's a red taxi, a minivan taxi. So I holler at it. Dude pulls up to the corner, starts his conversation in French. I had to tell him no parlez-vous français. And he switched immediately to English and said, "What's up?" And I said, "I need a ride." "Where to?" "The airport." "I can't go to the airport." I said, "What do you mean you can't go to the airport?" "You can't go to the airport." He says, he pulls out a business card and he says, "Call this number, talk to Jacques, tell him you talk to Mawan." And
Okay.
we said, "Come and get you." You know what I mean? They're talking like,
Yeah.
and they talk super fast, some of them. So he says, "I've already got a fare and I can't help you." And I said, "Cool." And he said, "Why are you just walking around?" I said, "Well, because the train stopped working." "Yeah, they went on strike." So he said, "The taxi stand is right across the park there. That's where I'm picking up my fares. So go stand there, and when you call him on the phone, you tell him that's where you're at. And make sure you tell him you talk to Laurent." And as he's driving around this square, that's about a half a block, I'm walking through the middle of it. I can see him making his turns because he's going to the taxi stand he told me to go to and wait. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as I'm walking, I dial the number on that card, and I get a French taxi dispatcher, which that is a little rough. I'm going to be honest with you. Bastille weekend in the middle of a train strike.
Okay.
You do not want to try to get into a verbal altercation, let's say, with a French taxi dispatcher.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. All right.
So, because I'm trying to ask him, he kind of does a little rudimentary English, wants to know where I'm at. Well, I don't really know where the little town's called, right? So I'm trying to get my Google thing to expand so I can see where I'm at. Expand it too much. "Oh, I'm in France." "No, I got to pull it back. I'm in Paris." You know what I mean? As I'm walking, you know what I mean?
I'm in the United
I can't
States.
tell you.
I mean, no.
He's doing, "How can we pick you up if you don't know where you're at?" I said, "Well, just told me to tell you I was at wah. And he said, "Well, how did wah. Immediately, every time I mention this guy's name or this taxi, I'm trying to, he switches to French like I know what he's talking about. So
because
finally,
you said the one word in French. Because you said the guy's name.
It was. I don't remember what it was, I feel like I'm talking to what was it, Charlie Brown, the Linus? Who was that?
Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I approach the taxi stand on the other side, my dude, I'm gonna call him my dude. My dude is there in his little red, and I can't call it a minivan. A minivan over there is like a minivan. Like American minivan is a robust vehicle in Europe. Their minivans are like, I don't even know. You know what I mean? Their minivans is like, they're just a smaller version. It would be like what we have these nice, these cubes, the little square cars. I'm talking like that.
Yeah. Horrible.
Similar like that, but maybe a little shorter.
Oh,
so
my.
The dude that gave me the card is there and at the taxi stand. Now, Jason, you're going to have to forgive me here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was 5 of the biggest, blackest African French women you have ever seen. Dressed to the nines. Okay. Boots up to their knees. Chain, gold. I mean, they had 3 Mr. T starter kits on every one of them. Interspersed with fake leather and naga hide, or just shiny and shiny. And they are going to town trying to figure out who's going to sit where in that van.
Okay.
And he's trying to tell them, and he's a classical French man, right? He looks about 5'6", 140 pounds.
Beret? Did he have a beret on?
No, he didn't have a beret, but he had an attitude. because because I'm telling you what, I don't know what they were saying, but he was jabbering. He wasn't giving them any clearance at all. They were jabbering and he was jabbering, and finally he sees me standing there and he puts the passenger side window down and he immediately switches to English and says, "Did Wah help you?" I said, "I still got him on the phone. I'm trying to give me your phone." So all of a sudden, all 5 of these girls look at me like, in America, it'd be like, "Who the F are you, my friend?" You know what I mean? Because now he quit talking to them. He's taking my phone and he's he hands my phone back to me, tells me, "Hop in the passenger side, front seat." And then he looks over his shoulder through the open van door and tells all these fat girls they got to get in the back. So they're trying to climb in this little minivan, and we all get in. I can feel the suspension. You know what I mean? This sounds terrible, but if you guys, Shane, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You ever pull out there with a grain truck and you're empty, and then when they turn that grain cart on, it just starts squatting on you. You can just feel it. Or if you pull in and get a load of gravel. You know what I mean?
We're comparing these 5 girls to a load of grain.
I'm just saying.
All right.
I'm just saying, on a smaller scale, I could feel this little vehicle. You know what I mean? Start settling down.
Let's just say it reached its weight limit.
And I think it bottomed out. It's like a hardtail now. I mean, we go down the street, you feel every bump because it's on it. You know what I mean? It's like a Harley guys will call you it's a hardtail. So he gets in another argument. With them about where he's going. Blah, 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 blah. Finally, I got to tell him, "Dude, you got to unlock my window, brother, because the smell of this cheap Moroccan, African, Parisian perfume on these old gals it feels like somebody, my nose is burning like somebody dumped over some Pine Sol or you know what I mean? Mom's been out there cleaning the house on that spring cleaning or something. I'm like, dude, my eyes are watering, brother. Help me. Don't light a cigarette because this thing will blow up. So finally, we serpentine down through these inner city streets. We get to a place, and I'm not kidding. If you've seen the movie, the Travolta movie, From Paris with Love, I think's what it was. We are in inner city high rises. 15, 18 story buildings. It reminds you a lot of the Little Moog in Minneapolis. And there is dudes. They got traffic cones across the street, and there's guys standing out there like security, right? To keep people from driving down there any further. And when I told my friend this the other day, I said, I'm pretty sure one of them had a gun. But we pull up, and then the taxi guy is saying, we can't go any further. He's trying to tell his girl, we can't go any further. And she's telling him, pull up there and put that, I'm just getting the vibe because they're doing this all arguing in French. You just pull up there and put the window down, and you tell them Louise is back here or something. You tell them Patty is in the car or something. So finally he inches up to them cones, and some little African dude sticks his head in the window, and she starts jabbering, he starts jabbering, and they jabber a little bit, and then he looks up and he yells at this other cat that's standing over there, and they move a couple cones, and we get to drive through them.
So these are some people. Like they've got to be important. Right?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, or maybe because any gal in this van outweighed the driver and any 2 Frenchmen on the street.
Okay.
Now I can't throw me in there because I'm a big old boy, but they either knew them or they just didn't want to fight them. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what the other guy at the phone was saying. Just let them through. I mean, you want them. Unpacking here would be like a running of the bulls right here. You know what I mean? Running of the
Yeah, I was saying, isn't that Spain? Ring the bulls.
Well, it's close to Spain and Morocco's just right next door to each other. So, what I told my friend is, my friend's kind of been around a little bit in the Dakotas and Wyoming. We call them Tatonkas. They didn't want these Tatonkas getting out. You ever seen the Kevin Costner movie? What was when he was out there in the
Dances with Wolves?
Dances with the Wolves, yeah. Tatonkas. This would be running with the Tatonkas. So we drive back through there, and I'm telling you what, we get down into a place. It was probably, I'm getting the vibes, it's probably the most dangerous place I've ever been in the world. And
that's saying something. That's saying something.
Yeah, because, part of it is I don't have the ability to get on my electronic device and call a whole bunch of Team America, right? Because you know what I mean? I'm there hanging out. I'm trying to go down to Paris and eat a crepe and take some pictures, and I don't have Team America with me, right? I usually when I'm in them kind of situations, I at least have a gun where I can save the last round for myself. I don't even have that. You know what I mean? I got a iPhone 6 or whatever it was back then. You know what I mean? So we drive down in this mess, and we get down there, and there's a stage set up. There's probably 500, 600 people in the street dancing, partying, and imagine a French pit bull out there on the stage. And they stop. She just tells the old driver, "Hey, pull up to the curb there," and he gets us all the way up to it because where the next inner ring of security is. And they slide open the door, and they got to unpack. Poor old minivan felt like my John boat when somebody's getting in or out of it. You know how it waddles back. Well, every time I wanted to get out the boat, it'd listen to the other side of the van and listen to the other side, And, so closes the door. We take off. We get right back up to the cone guys. They separate the cones, and it reminded me of those medieval shows. I've been watching this one called The Last Kingdom, and it'd be like, open the gates. They opened the cones, and we were able. So that's when he tells me. So we got talking. He said, "Hey, the rail workers are on strike." I said, "What's the deal? How come I can't get a taxi?" There's a certain geographic line there, intra-city and inter-city taxis. Only certain ones could go out to the airport. You know what I mean? There's certain airport dedicated taxis, I guess, to keep the from taking advantage of the tourist or whatever. You know what I mean? So okay. Only certain ones. So he can't take a fare in town in his district and take it all the way out to the airport and run up the meter or whatever. And I don't know if you guys ever been in like DC. I think Philly's got them where they have a certain flat rate when you're at the airport and you're getting on a taxi. It'll say this. So he said he's going to make an exception for me because he talked to wah, 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 wah. And they just told me to do it if I paid him in cash. And I said, I can pay you in cash. So he drove me right to my hotel. But, and he told me that was a bad neighborhood. It's just a terrible neighborhood full of, it was just a rough neighborhood. And he said normally he wouldn't drive down in there, but them gals knew somebody or something. And
it must have been. I'm going to base all this on your Midwest charm. That's how you got the ride to the airport.
Well, I didn't have my Lincoln Blue Tigers hat on, but that would have escaped them. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things, right? One of those things. So then I got to my room, and then the fireworks started going off downtown. And I had a room that I could look back toward downtown. I seen all the fireworks. And then I realized, oh, dude, I should have just stayed there. I should have just stayed there for the celebration and then paid the 50, 60 euros. Because I ended up giving this dude 60 euros anyway, which I could have got a real cab from downtown. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I should have stayed. I've been in Amsterdam on Queen's Day, which is another big celebration, but I was staying downtown where I could walk, so there was no taxis involved there. But
I like to believe that the thousands and thousands of people that listen to the Midweek Howl are somehow becoming more international just by listening to some of these stories. Like they're feeling like they're there on Bastille Day. without ever actually having, because I know I do.
Well, I don't know about that, but I appreciate it. You know,
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.